So the flag's over there, so I guess we'll be. So let's put the water bottle back on. Just like that, the flag's right there. So let's do 4, 4, and 4. So 4, 4, and 4. Oh, they want girls. Do 4, 4, and 4. So we can see the bridge.
The next part. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Like a little boat, like a little teepee. Then we'll say 4, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Face the flag.
It's the president.
Alright, so that's how we're gonna come up and do it. Got it. Gotta have to sit 2 till 7.
Down in the living extension.
He says this.
There's more chairs. There's more chairs.
Oh, this one? Wait, left, right? The first one.
Call this meeting to order. Tuesday, January 21st, 2020. Regular City Council meeting for City of Somerton. Today we have a special guest, two-time city champion, undefeated 2 years, the Somerton Middle School Cobras basketball team. And then we lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
One, two, three.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm going to read an excerpt from this last 2 years. Yeah,
Stay here.
they were fast also with Pledge of Allegiance. On the sprints, trying to catch up. Okay, so Somerton Middle School girls basketball back-to-back city champs for the years 2018, 2019. The 2-year journey started with Crane Cougar Classic preseason tournament in 2018, and after beating what was thought to be an invincible Centennial 8th grade squad 36-34. The 7th grade squad never looked back, going 14-0 that season, ending with 35-17 win over Castle Dome for the school's first ever basketball city championship. Remaining dedicated to repeat the next year, knowing the teams will be prepared to knock them off. Now with a target on their backs, the Lady Cobras trained even harder, and with a new supporting cast, of course they committed and repeated as Crane Cougar Classic champs. In 2019 by beating a Yuma Lutheran squad 64-42 in the finals. Once the regular season began, it was no doubt who was the team to beat, as Somerton went undefeated again and won their second city championship as 8th graders, with a convincing 40-22 win over Castle Dome in the finals at Yuma High. In 2 years, the team went 28-0 with an average margin of victory being 26 points, showing the area that Somerton Lady Cobras are now the queens of the court. Like I told you, we are very proud, and thank you, Coach, for all your hard work, and also the ladies. Also working hard these last 2 years, and good luck in your careers. We have a small token of appreciation from the City of Somerton, and we calling you Belinda Gradias. Hennessy Gutierrez. Isabella Molina. Irene Martinez. Raven Bryant. Chelsea Palomino. These were the 2-year players. Now we're going to go with the first-year basketball players. Jairi Ramirez. Genesis Sandoval. Areli Flores. Samantha Rogers. Alina Marquez. Juliana Camarillo. And Mia Solano. And Coach Sean Jones. Can I take a picture over here? Or? Está here in front.
The two girls in the back, you cannot see.
Squeeze in.
Share the Somerton page so we get
Come out to the
1,000
front.
likes.
Raven, you and Genesis, come over here. Come up to this area. One on that.
You're gonna cover her up.
Just scoot
There
a
you
little bit
go.
down.
Isabela.
Can't even see you.
Hold it.
Here we are. That's out of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we go. 1, 2, 3.
We hunt.
4, 5, 6.
We eat. Go.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And Mr. Jones, on behalf of Mr. Moreno and Ms. Middleton, I'm representing Somerton Middle School. They were not able to attend, they're out on a training, but they really appreciate the fact that you guys took the time, the city council and the city of Somerton took the time to invite our team over and do a recognition for them. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, ladies.
Get y'all
Roll call.
Mayor Gerardo Anaya,
Present.
Vice Mayor Martha Garcia, Councilman Miguel Villalpando,
Mr. Armando is ill and has to be excused.
Councilman Carlos Gonzalez,
Mr. Gonzalez is traveling and has to be excused.
Councilman Luis Galindo,
Mr. Miller is traveling on business and has to be excused.
Councilman Jesus Roldan,
Present.
Councilman Juan Castillo.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Anybody from the public wishing to address council? There's no one. Moving on to consent agenda. Item number 1, December 2019 check register. Is there a motion? It's a motion by Vice Mayor Garcia.
Second.
Second by Councilman Roldan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to old business. Item number 1, second reading by title only of ordinance 2020-001 and ordinance of the City of Somerton amending ordinance number 205002 and rezoning certain areas in the city of real property described herein as parcel number 7520504 or particularly described on Exhibit A attached to from MAC 10 to LI.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. We presented this rezoning case at the last meeting, and you approved the first reading of ordinance number 2020-001. At this point, if you have any questions or concerns about the rezoning process, I would like to address those, and if not, I would like to ask for an approval of a second reading.
Is there any comments or questions?
No.
Is there a motion to approve the second reading of title only?
So moved.
So motion by Councilman Roldan,
Second.
second by Councilman Castillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Order.
Is there a motion for approval of ordinance number 2020-001?
So moved.
So motion by Councilman Roldan,
Second.
second by Councilman Castillo. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 2020-001, an ordinance of the City of Somerton amending ordinance number 2015-002 and rezoning certain areas in the city for real property described herein as assessor parcel number 754-05004, more particularly described on Exhibit A attached hereto from Agriculture 10 to Light Industrial. Thank you.
Thank you. Pretty good job, David. Went for two. New business. Item number 1, presentation by Amanda Aguirre, President and CEO of Regional Center for Border Health, to the City of Somerton Cocopa Fire Department for the Community Paramedicine Program.
Mr. Mayor, good evening, members of the council. It's a pleasure to be here. Just for the record, I'm Amanda Aguirre, President and CEO of the Regional Center for Border Health in San Luis Walk-in Clinic and former state senator. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to give you a little update on our paramedic program in the community in Somerton. We have also this program in San Luis based on the great success and a good collaboration with the City of Somerton and of course the Somerton Fire Department. And I would like the chief to join me because I think this is an important, this has been a good partnership, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Have Chief Paul Leanda come here with me. We handed out for you just a brief presentation on how this program started all about, and basically we wanted to implement an initiative that many other communities in Phoenix and many metropolitan areas and have been working in trying to reduce the cost of healthcare by reducing the visits to the ER in many communities. As you know, you ambulance will have to go to the ER when we have critical when they respond to critical issues that families and members of this community suffer. And this program has been within one major goal to prevent some of those. As you can see in your page 1, project goals is to reduce utilization of emergency medical services for non-emergency situations, improve access to primary care and behavioral health services. As you know, San Luis Walk-in Clinic is fully integrated with behavioral health services. We just recruited a psychiatrist, a psychologist, so different members of the health professions in terms of behavioral health, speech pathologies, and reduce, of course, the ED utilization to reduce hospital readmissions. And that has been one of the biggest issues in the healthcare industry. Patients, they leave the hospital and then get readmitted into the hospital, costing more to the taxpayers of this country, and again reduce the cost of healthcare. So with this program, what we've done is to, with the collaboration with the fire department and your paramedic program, we have designed a program that we are targeting the patients with chronic care issues, diabetes, hypertension, maybe some mental health issues, depression, anxiety, so what we call the comorbidities. And you can see also in the presentation, the project objectives are very specific in trying to prevent the readmissions to the hospital, having to call the fire department for non-emergency things. But one of the successes, and before I continue, I would like to introduce my staff, Marisol Pinelas and Elena Rodriguez, CEO. And Marisol has been instrumental in working with our paramedic program and implementing this to the extent of what we're seeing today. So we have a great team. Also, in our team for the fire department, we have, of course, our chief, Paul Leanda, the leader of this project, and Luis Carlos, battalion chief, Jim Resnick, captain, Javier Hernandez, captain, and Stephen Clark. From my providers, Raso Magnir has been a provider that responds to the calls when they do home visits on the homes of these individuals. And of course, my staff, they follow up with them. But in the outcomes, I think that's the most significant measure that we can show you is that we have significant compliance with our patients in terms of medications when they go home. They visit the patient, they count the medications, they make sure that they're taking them, and measure blood pressures, diabetes, glucose levels, make sure that they're taking the medication, they're under control. So while looking at these measurements from the past 2 years, this is a number that I show you today, we're in compliance for diabetes 100%. This is for just fiscal year for the patients that we selected for this. And again, it's a comorbidity, patients suffering with 2 different conditions that qualify for what we call the CCM program, which is a chronic care management program, also approved by CMS, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid. So, and you can see for hypertension, we also have an increased number of compliance, 97% of our patients that we're following up, and that means a lot. That means that these patients are healthy. We even graduated 15 patients this year. So that means that they comply with everything. They are in normal conditions. They are not suffering anymore with a lot of the onset of having to go to the hospital, having to be readmitted, or calling the fire department to come and help them for non-emergency services. So we're very glad here today to present a check to Chief Deanda and the City of Somerton for the amount of $15,000 for the contribution to the improvement of patients at St. Louis Walk-In Clinic. I don't know if the Chief would like to say a few words, or I know there's been a great experience and long years, almost 5 years working to try to get this model going. We are seeing one of the best models in the state right now, and many other agencies from Phoenix to Flagstaff to Coconino, they're looking at our model that we have developed here in Somerton. So, Chief.
I think one of the biggest things that stood out when we started the program was within 6 months we were awarded an award for the Rural Health
Association,
the association, because of this model we presented. And just, Mesa Fire got a massive grant from
$1 million.
Yeah, from
HRSA.
Oh, I can't remember the agency. It's Health and Human Services, and they built this model like the Rolls Royce of what we do. It was way overboard, and when they did their measurables at the end, they didn't meet any of their goals. We chose to do something that we could do within the scope of our practice. In other words, we want to do something that didn't require us to do additional training as paramedics. So we stayed within our scope, but we are expanding our role. And so now they're going to do the pill counting and all that. But to me, it's been amazing, and I'm so glad that Amanda's was open arms to accepting us to work with them and do this. Because when you look at those, you look at the statistics, you don't realize these are all people that had chronic blood pressure, which causes angina and other additional problems. It can cause a stroke. Same thing with the blood glucose levels. You always have your blood glucose high. It damages the vascular system. It can lead to a stroke, can lead to cardio problems, and we're avoiding that by doing this. So it's so interesting that something so simple like pill counting and saying, did you take your medicine, has such an impact. Like the picture that's in there is the very first visit we did. And I've shared the story over and over and over. I never get tired of sharing it. We show up, and this older female's there. We're showing, the battalion chief is showing Carlos Correa how we're going to run the program, do the home inspection for safety, no loose rugs, and make sure all the wiring's in place. And then they do the pill counting, they do the vital signs. And he's asking her, so did you take your medicine today? She's diabetic. And she says, oh yeah, I did. And so then he takes her blood glucose, and it's 380, which is very high. And so he says, I thought you said you took your blood pressure. Oh, I felt good today, so I didn't actually take it. He goes, what about yesterday? Well, I felt good yesterday too. And so, of course, he had her take her medicine, and then we called the promotora, who called the PA at the clinic, and they gave her more attention. But the point is, later on that night, I'll guarantee you we would have transported her to the emergency room. That would have been $7,500 out of the system or more, depending. But typically, a visit to the ER is about $7,500 when it's all said and done. And all it took was someone to be there and babysit, make sure they took their medicine, and we avoided all of that. And that's all thanks to Amanda and the Regional Center for Border Health, because they're the ones that allowed us to integrate with them and do this. We could do that on our own, but we wouldn't have the impact of keeping these statistics and knowing if we're meeting our measurables. We wouldn't have the staff over here that's always constantly viewing, what we need to do to improve patient care. And so it's a real complete package, and I'm real proud of it. I'm real proud of the Regional Center for Border Health.
Thank you. And one of the efforts that we've done with my team is that our clinic is one of the few in the state that is nationally is recognized as NCQA. That means by the National Quality Assurance. That means that we meet all the standards from the federal government in quality assurance for healthcare delivery in the country. So that's one of the measures that access will be required from all clinics. But right now, we have one of the experts, contact experts that we call, and that's Marisol, that understand the system, and we also, Elena, meets all the requirements from Access, Medicaid, and CMS in terms of the meaningful use certification that clinics have to have in according to the Affordable Care Act, and we're in compliance with all that. So nationwide, we also recognize with all the wonderful work that my medical providers and my staff are doing right now in our clinic. So, and we continue growing, right? You see our beautiful buildings. Right now, last year we reached more than 100,000 encounters a year. That's visits, and that's a lot of intensive. And again, with the full integration that we have from speech pathologies, just recently we worked with 200 children that have been referred to us for speech issues. And so we're very committed to continue working, and particularly this program is very dear to my heart because it deals and works with the very most disadvantaged families and individuals that suffer from chronic care issues and elders. And they're very much at risk. So our elderly population is what participates in this program. And they're selected by us and the providers, and there's a specific care plan that we have to follow. So thank you, Chief. And I would like to officially present this check to the city and to the Chief, if I may. Mayor?
Okay.
Get to join in myself. Big cardboard check. And then we have the real check. How's that? So we'll give you the check on one side and then.
Ready?
Inhale.
1, 2, 3. Another one. Last one.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna frame that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, we'll get another one.
Oh, another picture? Just for by myself?
Para que no se quede atrás.
yeah.
Gracias. Thank you.
Unless there's any questions that we would like to entertain from the mayor.
I would like to mention that I'm very grateful to council also because none of this is possible without your allowing us to enter into that agreement with the Regional Center for Border Health. And we came and presented the agreement, and you guys allowed us to sign it, and that's what made all this possible. So thank you so much for your help.
Okay.
And I want to thank you, Chief, for your proactiveness too with bringing programs like this, and also Amanda for everything you do for our community, not just this, but you help a lot. You have a very good restaurant too, so everything about that organization is first class.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Vice Mayor.
Item number 2, discussion of possible action to authorize the fire chief to apply for funds for FEMA assistance to firefighter grant program for turnout gear.
Yeah, it's the FEMA one. Yeah, it's always a requirement by FEMA that we have approval of the governing body when we ask them for a grant. And the next round of assistance to firefighter grants, I'm asking for permission from the mayor and vice mayor and council to apply for this. As you can see in what I wrote here, the gist of it is that firemen have been proved to be 14% more likely to die from cancer than the regular population. And we used to think it was really cool to go and pull, all that smoke with our gear on and all that. We're finding out our gear was contaminated. We were contaminating ourselves. We were killing ourselves. And if you were to read that white paper, you'd see in every measure, brain cancer, bladder cancer, liver cancer, it's always higher and higher than the normal population. So we want to apply for a second set of gear for all the full-time and part-time firefighters. And the reason is, when you go to a fire, what happens when you're done, you have to decontaminate. You wash yourself down, you get to station, you tear the gear apart and you wash it. In fact, we have a big special, it's called a washer extractor. It's not even a regular washing machine. And it takes all that stuff out. But now your gear's wet, so you can't wear it. So you need a second set of gear so you can continue to go to the next call. And so that's what this is about. And so as you can see in the numbers, the total cost of gear will be about $252,000 approximately, and 10% of that will be $25,200. Zarina will set up a special account apart from the general fund just for the managing grants now. And so we would be budgeting for $25,200, and that would only be used if they were to award us the grant.
Any questions, comments? Is there a motion? A motion by Vice Mayor Garcia, second by Councilman Roldan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Item number 3, discussion and possible action to authorize the fire chief to apply for grant funds from the Arizona Governor's Office of Highway Safety for purchase of hydraulic extrication tools, airbags, and rescue struts.
Yeah, that's a complete set of everything we use. And if you saw the wreck that happened in G, the picture we had, that's one of the places where we actually used everything. We used airbags, we used rescue struts to maintain the vehicle so it wouldn't flip when we clipped the vehicle beneath it. We used the jaws, we used the shears, we used the rams, everything we had we used. But that equipment's getting old. The last time we applied to them was about, I believe it was 2006. So that equipment is now 13 years old. And so we want new equipment. With that, older equipment will end up on the engine, the new equipment will end up on the squad, which goes in first to all the calls. And if you'll see the numbers, 108 motor vehicle accidents in 2019, 5 of them involved fatalities. And so we're getting a lot of that down here, a lot more. In fact, 2018, we had 1 fatality. And it was 5 fatalities, so it's a 400% increase in people dying on our roads. And as you can see, it's going to be about $40,000. My understanding from talking to the grant person over there is that they will ask us to receipt them and they will pay for it, but she wasn't sure, so I didn't want to write here something that isn't. So we will be plugging that amount into our budget in order to be able to expend that money in case that they're not going to pay for it straight up, and then they'll reimburse us. Is there any questions?
Questions, comments? Is there a motion? A motion by Vice Mayor Garcia,
Second.
second by Councilman Castillo. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Item number 4, presentation regarding the proposed Avenue E extension from SR 195 to County 18th Street and
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The item before you is an update on the Yuma County Avenue extension project from SR 195 to County 18th Street. I have attached in the agenda a map showing the limits of the project. You may know Yuma County is in charge for this project. Department of Development Services receive a coordinated border infrastructure grant, most common a CDI grant, to perform the design concept report, the DCR, and the environmental assessment for this project. The DCR includes basically the 30% design plans for the project. SOMAS was the consultant for this project, and it was hired by ADAT because this is a federal grant. Currently, after talking with Yuma County Department of Engineering, the DCR is completed and the environmental assessment EA is an ongoing. They are having issues with the environmental assessment because the Avenue E extension is on the land owned by the Bureau of Reclamation and BLM, the Bureau of Land Management. And as you know, this is a long process. It's a lot of environmental review, and because they own the land, it's a lengthy process for them to approve this environmental assessment and design plans. Yuma County will submit the clearance after they complete the environmental assessment. So basically, the next step on this project is to identify funding for the completion of the design and the construction portion of the project. We are having some conversations with the Yuma County Department of Engineering to be working together in order for us to do some improvements along Avenue D, because as you know, basically Avenue E coming from south to north change the alignment to Avenue D, and that's gonna basically pass on our jurisdiction from County 17 all the way to Highway 95 going to County 15. So basically this is the status of the project on the 30% design plans and the environmental assessment.
Thank you, Sam. Any questions, comments? No, this right here is, if it happens, it's gonna open up, economic development here to the south. The Avenue E alignment is straight down to the port of entry, the port of entry. So this, if we can start, talking to the other elected officials. Vice Mayor, you sit on YMPO. We can start, bringing this to light. I talked to we had a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, some leaders from South County, and this was brought up. So we just need to start, I guess, putting it in our radar, because it's going to help our city there. We can have the direct connection from the port to our city limits. Keep us posted on what happens. We're going to try to talk to people and keep this going.
Sure, I will. Thank you.
We have executive session, so we're going to go to a summary of current events.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, obviously the number one issue has been and continues to be the Somerton High School. Vice Mayor Garcia, Consultant Jerry Cabrera, and I spoke briefly with Governor Ducey this afternoon after his Yuma State of the State address about the School Facility Board's recent decision to delay funding. The governor said he is aware of the situation and will be working with us on the issue. The governor is seeking $608 million for total new spending, K through 12 public education in his executive budget. And the governor is also the appeal route for any potential action seeking to reverse the SFB's decision. As you have seen, there was an excellent editorial in Sunday's Yuma Sun calling for the state to consider reversing its decision and to contact their state representatives. In other news, I've met with our APS account manager to follow up on information related to the potential solar and LED streetlight projects. My goal is to have a short work session with council in February or March on different solar options, and I hope to have a meeting with APS in the coming weeks to look at streetlight options. Police Chief Juarez may be mentioning this, but I just wanted to acknowledge her department's efforts in conjunction with Public Works, our facilities staff, and the IT department to initiate a new safe meetup spot outside of City Hall. This is a designated safer place for people to exchange items that they buy online. It's just outside of City Hall on the west side of the building in a well-lit area under 24/7 video surveillance. It's only the third such location in Yuma County, and I just wanted to thank all the departments and personnel who work together to make this positive quality of life enhancement for our community. For those wishing to run for one of the 3 council seats up for election this year, candidate packets are now available. Candidates' nominations and petitions can be filed from March 9th to April 6th. Packets are available here at City Hall in the administration office on the 2nd floor, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. And many thanks to City Attorney Lozano for taking the lead on getting those packets done in the absence of a deputy city clerk. And finally, I'll be attending the Arizona City County Management Association Conference next week, Tuesday through Friday. This is always a good conference where town, city, and county managers from across the state get together to share ideas, new trends, and learn from different speakers and sit in on different informational sessions. Economic Development Director Tapia will be handling immediate items in my absence. And with that, Mr. Meza, you're closest to the mic.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Jesus Mesa, Parks and Recreation Director. Just a few updates on the latest action of our department. On the recreation side, we have a total of 188 participants signed up for soccer. So we're doing pretty well. We're ahead of schedule in terms of last season. We're also confirmed some free baseball clinics with Juan Lopez. He's going to be collaborating with our recreation division to offer free clinics for the participants or anybody interested to spur the participation and sign up. So that's going to start January 27th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. and it's going to go for 3 dates. So that's another incentive. For our parks division, we're currently focusing on getting on board 2 full-time positions that have been open for several months. They started the onboarding process and accepted offers last week, so they're set to start tentatively for this Monday, upcoming Monday. So there's going to be 2 more full-time park staff. One's going to be more of the park side, and the other person is going to be more on the facility side and utility. So we're hoping that's going to boost our parks department or division. And we're out 1 person right now, no longer working with the parks in the city of Somerton. So we're going to start rehiring soon, and hopefully open up for a week or 2 and get another candidate in as soon as possible. Just a note, and we're finalizing promotional items right now for our yearly calendar on recreation. That's another update, and club cards, posters with the yearly calendar and everything there for the people to be aware of what's going on a yearly basis. So that's almost on the final phase. Also, just on the FYI on the special event side, we mailed the liquor license application to the state on Friday for their consideration for the Pepalooza event coming on Saturday, February 1st from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's already scheduled, and I appreciate the help of Vanessa, everybody, fire department, everybody's been very involved in animal control. There's been a team effort, and this transition period without a special events coordinator, it's been a challenge. We're gonna make it happen. Also for the Greater Days, we're in the final phase of confirming a reformatted RFP for stage sound and audio that's going to be used for bigger events. It goes a little bit more in depth about the requirements, what we need, an agreement for the best interest of the city, of course, and be in compliance, and something comprehensive for the bidders too, that they need to know what's being required and what do we need and how we can work this out for the best interest of both parties. And that's about it for right now on the Parks and Rec side.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. Hope you're well. For the last couple weeks, I've been working with our auditors on the prior year audit to get that finalized, and they were here last week, and everything went rather well. We hope to have that wrapped up towards the end of the month, actually towards the middle of February, having hopefully a preliminary or a final draft of our financial statements. And I'm currently working on getting the 2021 budget open in our computer software. I've also been working with the department, or the Arizona Department, the Auditor General's office, for some additional reports they required. We just finished a project with utilities where we are now not having to create separate accounts for all the different meters that one particular client may have, and it actually worked out rather well, so that should cut down on the number of accounts that we have. I was very happy about that. We're able to, within our system, and they're able to read the meters all together under one account, so that was a win. I've also been working with ADP on different reports and on our payroll process, and some potential savings for from their contract. So I think that'll be finalized this week, so I'll keep you posted on that. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, just bring you up to date. Of our 6 new hires, 3 of them passed their probationary exam after a year. And it's a pretty intensive thing. It takes an entire day to test each one of them. And so they went through their written, they went through their mapping, they went through all their physical skills that they have to do, and they did really well. I was real pleased with it. And we have 2 other people that are on our department that are currently in a paramedic class, and so that'll add to our paramedics within the department. And as you can hear, they've been going all day. They probably run about 16 calls a day. 4 of them have been to San Luis. San Luis has not kept up 3 ambulances like they said. They've only been keeping up 2 ambulances. Whenever they're short a person, they down an ambulance. So we end up picking up that slack, and it's fine. It's more revenue for us, and just it draws down on our resources. We did have that residential fire. It's an abandoned house. It's been burned 3 times. This third time they did a really good job. They burned it all the way down. So we have the city fire inspector has been assigned now to identify every single vacant home in the city, and we're going to map it, and then we'll use that to build a plan to find out who's the one that's been doing this and come after them. And that's about all I have. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. To add over to what Fire Chief is saying, we've been working with them, we've been working with the battalion chief and trying to narrow down who the subject might be before they burn even bigger buildings that are gonna really affect us or they get somebody hurt. So that's one of the focuses that we have as a team. We've been working with Aftermath, Inc., they're a corporation out of Phoenix, to provide us some free training for the officers on PPE, protective gear. That's one of the things that we're working on. City manager mentioned the meetup spot. Some of the departments that help us was Parks and Rec. I sent some of the officers to take some photographs that we were sharing them on, I think, the city page as well. So I worked closely with Ronnie. Ronnie was the guy that was working on that, so I appreciate that time that was given, and the officer that I assigned him that morning, that assignment, and he had it done probably that same afternoon. So I appreciate the work of the officers as well. In training, we've been sending a couple officers out to Tucson, to Phoenix, but that particular officer is going to come back, is going to train the rest of the department. So we're going to be saving some money in that. We're going to have some more additional experts at the police department. We have our TV in the lobby running at the station. If you'd like to share anything, city manager, if you'd like to share anything with the public, we have people that sit there for 20, 30 minutes waiting for fingerprints or waiting for an officer to come and help them on their call. And we have the TV running with information that is out to the public on fingerprints, on how to keep their vehicle safe. We're going to be adding some stuff hopefully here that pertains to the fire department, so we can continue to keep the public informed. And last thing is, we've been able to get some free training for our staff that covers the front desk. A lot of times we don't think about it, or some of us might. Any active shooter, any person that's going to be aggressive or attack is going to go for the first person at the front desk. So we've been getting a lot of training online that has been free for our front desk. So that's another thing if you guys would like us to share some of that information for the people here at City Hall, that's something that we can do as well. Right, thank you.
Mayor and council members, it's an update of the, as you remember last meeting, I mentioned the Art to Art special event. This event has been promoted by the Yuma Visitors Bureau, and it's going to be held here on February 2nd, the Sunday. And the actual time is supposed to be from 10 to 3 p.m. because the same day is going to be the Super Bowl. So it's going to be from 10 to 2 p.m. instead of the 3 p.m. So this event, the intent is to, based on a special grant that the Visitor Bureau received to promote the arts and also the agriculture in this area. So they're doing this in Yuma and Welton, and now it's a Somerton's turn. But eventually it's going to be more like a farmer's market. And that will be, they already had like 40 vendors already listed. And they asked the city to also to include some local vendors instead of all of it just comes from different places. So Vanessa has already communicated with some local vendors, and they say, I think 5 or 6 already say yes to be on this area, promoting their own business and local information. So that's going to be on February 2nd. An update about the Old City Hall site. Also, we're still working with some proposal, but as you mentioned, Mayor, that will be something that we can also, as a city side, we can actually look into the idea of doing the city remodel and bringing a tenant there. So we're going to investigate some kind of something we can do, something like that too. But right now we have a proposal, and we actually encouraging this potential buyer if they would like to do what the city is proposing. So we share with them the conceptual design, so we'll design it based on the Main Street ideas. And so far they're not saying yes. So it's going to be a discussion that we can do later on. But yeah, I'm working on that corner as well. And as you not remember, the Michoacana right here in this corner, finally, I know it took a long time, but today they signed the papers, so they agreed to the contract with the tenant and also the builder. So the next phase will be the architect is going to be building the design building on that corner. So I'm assuming that will take a few months, but finally we got finally yes, they're going to be located on that corner. So it's going to be a nice little building. And I'm working with the Public Works, San Palacios, also for the estimations of the infrastructure for the west side property. Those 20 acres, as you recall, we have a couple good proposals. Right now they're on hold because they would like to see some numbers about how much it's going to be costing for them, their share of the infrastructure development, the water line, the sewer line. So Sam is doing some calculations. Once we get those numbers, they're waiting for the city to provide those numbers and move forward. So those are the updates on the economic development for now. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Aside from the infill incentive overlay plan, we are also working on 2 different major operations as we speak. One of those is the 2020 general plan update. We've been working on that for a few months already. We have the 60-day review period that is going to initiate tomorrow, and it's going to run for 2 months until the end will be March 22nd. So this is the opportunity for everyone, residents, council, commission, staff members, to review the document and submit any questions, comments, concerns that you may have on what is being proposed at this time. So we also have a public meeting that is already scheduled for February 19th with a potential work session with council on the 18th. Again, just to remind you that this is a very tight schedule because we need to be on the ballot for the November 2020 election. Otherwise, we would have to pay for a special election because this document is the only one that needs to be ratified by the voters of each municipality, and this is per state statute. So we are working, this year we have a general election, so we are trying to put the document there for the residents to ratify the approval. The other major operation that we're working as we speak is the 2020 census. We are in the outreach phase of it. We have the questionnaires that are going to be available to the residents beginning March 12th through April 1st. So from now until March, we are hoping to have several city events that we are going to be part of. We are wanting to have a booth, and we have been very successful in the previous events, city events, that we've been able to talk with a lot of residents. Part of the education processes is to engage with the residents and explain the importance of the census count. So we are trying to schedule as many events as possible. We already have 2 city events that are planned. One is the Pet Palooza on February 1st, and the other one is Somerton Graders Days on February 29th. So somewhere in between, we are also communicating with the community members, the committee members, and see if they have their own events and we want to be part of their. We have one that is already scheduled with Campesinos Sin Fronteras. It's going to be this Friday, the 24th. They're having their citizenship fair, and we are going to have a booth there with the census information for those people in attendance. So we're working on those two events, and we are hoping that our residents can come out and do the census count and also give us their input for the 2020 general plan update. Thank you.
We're in Mayor and Council. Our street crew started with the Cracksville program for this year. We started on Rodolph subdivision, and we're going to be moving forward with several areas that we have on our schedule. Also, we continue working on the landscaping for the County 15 pathway. The only pending issue there is the Central Link that is needs to relocate the pole on the corner of Somerton Avenue, County 15. That is still pending since 2 weeks ago. They're working on it, but it's still working on that relocation in underground. Our next project is the Socolo Gardens project. The CDBG is a roadway project and a water project. CIMIC was the contractor for this project. We sent the notice of award last week. So basically they will start submitting the material submittals for the review and approval, and we also received the bond for the project. Thank you.
And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Castillo.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Vice Mayor Garcia. Councilman Rondon.
Just want to thank you all, the directors, for working together and different projects that we have. I know you are on director on your own different department, but at the end you're working for the same city, and it feels good when you guys bring a project together, combine everybody, police, fire, parks, streets, all the different departments out there. So thank you guys for doing that, and at the same time, working together with our community people that are out here. So thank you.
Tomorrow I have a meeting with Mayor Nichols and Mayor Sanchez is going to be calling in. So, one of the items I want to discuss with them is the high school and how they can support. Yeah. And also we intend to meet with the high school administration and hopefully talk to them and discuss our points that came out in the newspaper, but face to face with them, concerns. That's all I have. So is there a motion we have 2 items in executive session. There's a discussion or consultation of legal advice with attorney for the city of Somerton, matters of Somerton High School, and also discussion, legal advice, city of Somerton regarding the status of all matters related to police overtime claim. Is there a motion to exit to executive session? So motion by Vice Mayor Garcia, second by Councilman Castillo. Motion carries. We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
¿Qué es?